And our scene is set within Spilt Milk HQ, Sam's little dry cleaning business. One that's used to clean up certain sordid acts of the Irish mob, but also used on the side to clean up certain particularly bloody masquerade breaches that the medical or police departments would perhaps just find a little bit suspicious. This scene, Sam has invited Gwen over to make amends and perhaps consider a plan forthwith as to deal with this rather nefarious Brujah that he has heard so little about, other than the fact that he's to be brought back in a box. Sam's sitting on one end of the table, but he has his place marked out for both whip and provision, both next to him.
Gwen finds her way to this particular room at the cleaners. She's been here before. She's a bit mellowed out at this point. She just seems calm. She walks in and takes a seat. Evening, Mr. Spillane.
I see. What's Gwendolyn's last name?
O'Connor.
O'Connor. Oh, it's Irish. Sam perks up a little bit, stands to the lady in the room and says, "Hi, Miss O'Connor. It's good to see you again. Would you like to take a seat?" And he kind of pulls a chair out for you.
She smiles. Says, thank you.
Hi. Welcome. I thought I'd just start this off by saying I apologise for the way I acted towards you a month or two back. It was not right of me to lash out at you in such a way and disrespect you. You're a... and he kind of stops for a moment. Well, I guess it would be a bit cliche to call you an esteemed member of Clan Ventrue when technically we all are. But I suppose you know what I'm getting at. Unlike most, you get stuff done in this city. And I appreciate that. And I should know better manners considering the clan I fall from. He kind of smiles a little bit. Anyway.
Gwen smiles. Oh, it's not trouble at all. We all have our moments.
I will leave away. It was unacceptable. I hope we can work together, perhaps more amicably in the future. I didn't mean to be causing you trouble. I guess after seeing Mr. Brooks leave, I was a bit cynical and I lashed out.
When Gwen keeps the same smile on her face. Oh, it's quite all right. We do seem to have a bit of a bigger problem in Harlem. Or at least one of the rabble.
Aye, we need to be putting one of them in a box and delivering them to our Archon. Or something to that effect.
Indeed, I've been in correspondence with Primogen Duval regarding my particular influences, helping her out on an uh, initiative to attempt to neuter his influence. After all, he is a lawyer.
I have a few means to disrupt his line of work, but I need a couple of things to work with, such as his list of clientele and where he actually works and some such. I can certainly make his life a lot harder.
Player's receiving messages on Facebook that he has to look at his phone to read. Okay. Gwen nods. Indeed, it seems we will all have to work together to ensure that he does not gain a foothold in this city.
I prefer. Or rather, it would be very unwise for me to enter Harlem directly with myself or with my bag of friends. Although I do have other means of making his life a fucking mess. I think it'd be very possible for me to hit his line of clientele. And perhaps even more possible to make sure his staff don't want to work with him no more.
Yes, I believe we were also working on a cheaper, more affordable um, alternative to his services. After all, he charges way too much for the impoverished people, the criminals down on their luck. It can be worked to our advantage in bringing his holdings to heel.
I was looking to get my teeth sunken into the judiciary at some point. Helps to make sure that any unusual crimes are kept off the books.
Certainly, if we don't have to make a cover up, then it's much easier. But there are there are ways that the popular opinion of the people of New York can be swayed against him. Even though we are immortal creatures of the night, popular opinion of the kind still affects us.
If we could dig up some dirt on his business, then perhaps not just get the public eye, but perhaps the authorities look in his direction. It would certainly put him under a lot of pressure. I know that Mr. Budge is not too keen with his current arrangements. I was thinking we could bring him into this equation as well. Especially since he and I together would make quite a team when it comes to the more seedy elements of our city.
Yeah, I do seem to recall that both of you seem to be involved in the underbelly, as it were.
Aye, Mr. Budge is in quite good with the Falcone family. I have an operating alliance with him. It makes us quite a formidable threat. With Mr. Duval working with the cartels, I think we could more or less run this city from the underground. But for now, I suppose our main focus should be this Brujah.
Yes, this Kunik is he's our main focus for the moment.
Aye, Koenig. I sort of heard that name before.
I mean, it means king.
Aye, he certainly wouldn't be king for long. Although I suppose that would be assuming he was king to begin with.
Can a rabble truly be king, though? Okay. Chris, are we going to say that we know of this letter that Amachan's telling us about?
What letter where? Oh,
Vandalism happening near the domain. Oh. Okay. So Gwen probably picks up Gwen picks up her phone. Her Google will send her a message that says important letter. She messages him back, or messages her back rather, and the Raquel comes in very politely and hands a letter from the Primogen. She will not acknowledge that Raquel will return to the car. Gwen will open it. It would seem there's been a bit of vandalism near Battery Park.
I informed the sheriff of it. I was going to put out some spotters to see if anyone would run into the perpetrator, considering I seem to be quite well known and well liked on the street.
Yes.
Have you heard about the masquerade breach, by the way?
Masquerade breach. I guess not.
Sam,
I suppose that's a good thing for someone involved in the media.
I managed to cover for it, but perhaps you want to take a look for yourself. And he'll show footage kept on his phone. A video begins to load up. A CCTV recording of it's not the best quality. A blonde girl There's a girl wearing a hoodie who appears to be blonde in this back alley. That's how it's from. Seems to be the back of some sort of. Well, it looks like she doesn't really. It actually just looks like an alleyway. To be honest, it'd probably be indiscernible from the back entrance. What is apparent is that she jumps up two floors of a building.
And this looks like Nina, yes?
Yes. So if Gwen's met her before, then she'd probably recognize her. But that's only until later on. She begins to head back to the manhole and runs off. There's a pretty good shot of her face that Sam managed to get.
Most unfortunate.
Indeed. I managed to make sure the individual let service go down, as I didn't exactly get this footage free of charge. To perhaps take a more realistic interpretation of it and swear him to secrecy as he quotes, air quotes that.
We'll we'll have to see how if we need anything more to keep him quiet. Unless, which we shouldn't need to do anything if it's been 100% effective. It's hard to tell when something like that is completely effective or if it wears off.
Aye.
He
Well, he seems to be.
at the very least.
He seemed to agree with me fairly thoroughly, and I deleted the rest of the footage. This is the only copy that remains. Of course, I will be delivering this to the sheriff, but I think I may keep an extra copy just in case it would happen to go missing. Because from what I hear, this individual just happened to be a Brujah anarch. Which, needless to say, I'm not particularly keen on cleaning up the messes of, well, those who think they just could break the rules whenever they want. And from what I hear, she apparently seems quite intent on just causing chaos. Just hops into a city, fucks things up, and leaves. Which might explain the anarch graffiti all over our domain. Not to say that there's enough evidence to fully convict her just yet. But there is an interesting trend there. Either way, if any of my spotters report a blonde-looking girl, then we'll definitely know who it is.
We'll definitely need to keep an eye out for her. If Miss Anarch wishes to cause trouble, then it'll be dealt with. We need something substantial to not. I'd rather not annoy them too much with the Sabat still in Staten Island. Out of character, unless they've left, which I don't think they have.
Aye. Causing masquerade breaches so that we have to clean it up is stuff that the Sabat seems generally pulls, not the Anarchs. It seems like particularly dangerous behaviour this Nina is exhibiting.
I've generally known Anarchs to respect the first, even if they don't suspect some of the others.
Alright, they at least get the first rule. That one's common sense. Granted, they all are, but it's particularly hard to debate your way out of that one.
Definitely.
Granted, the Sabbat were never much for debate. But then again, this Nina doesn't appear so either. Has me quite worried. Apparently, this Nina and Ghost are sisters, which certainly doesn't help her out.
Indeed.
At the end of the day, I'm certainly not the one that's going to be footing the bill for this Nina screwing everyone else over. It's made business for me, Limey, and our Primogen harder.
Yes. And did you need... ow, my eye! Ugh. Okay. That's bothering me today.
Gwen has one lethal on her eye.
No, Gwen's player does. Or one bashing in the eye. Yeah, Gwen, not. Did you need the use of my particular contacts within the media to gain information within after all, they're within Mr. Koenig's business? After all, surely there's some innocent person that just wants to do research on a lawyer's office, right? Really wants to be a lawyer when she grows up.
Aye. Once we've got the information we need, I can get to work.
Not Gwen. She doesn't say Gwen. She says, Miss Duval is working on the public relations aspect, forging a better, cheaper, more affordable alternative, and trying to paint him in a very negative light. If we can paint him as an extortionist, there goes his business. Bye-bye.
If we can paint as an extortionist of the economically poorly off, so to speak, I may be able to convince some of the local residents of a sit-in. It will certainly help act as a catalyst for the PR sector of all this.
Indeed. And were there any other items of note?
Actually, I did find something rather interesting while I was investigating this Nina situation. And he pulls up, it's like a part of a lighter, it's not a full lighter. So it's broken, basically. There's letters on it that basically it's basically SU. Sue. But that's all. Doesn't seem to be much. I'm not sure what to make of this exactly. Bit of a long shot, but this is pretty much all the evidence I could gather of in the security footage.
Well, any evidence would be worth looking at.
Aye. Well, these gangsters were poisoned. Rat poison, I think. Other than that, though, that's a situation I've actually got quite well in hand, but I thought I'd just keep you in the know.
Well, I'll be sure to get back with you when the curious intern gets back with me. I've got to find a curious pre-law student now to do some job shadowing. And hey, it's hard to find paid internships, right?
Indeed, it should appear so. Of course, unless you're dealing with my type of internships, but they're quite a bit different from the usual conventional kind. Anyway, it was nice speaking to you with you again. Any kind of stops. Well, what would you prefer? My whip, Miss O'Connor, or just Gwendolyn?
Miss O'Connor's fine.
Very well then, Miss O'Connor. It's a pleasure speaking with you. I'm glad we were able to sort things out. It's something that's been bothering me for a while. He looks a bit happier now.
Smile and give a nod. I'll keep in touch. Have a good evening, Mr. Spillane.
You can just call me Sam.
She thinks for a moment as if she almost forgot that he does what he prefers, but she nods. Have a good evening, Sam. And
Good evening to you, Miss O'Connor.
she will egress.
And with that, we can end our scene. Thank you, players for this. Thank you, watchers, for watching.